All right, so you can see here we are in a Gelt campaign, and we're looking at Karl Franz because we're actually going to take a look at Theodore Bruckner. Now, I mentioned the other day during my Heroes of the Empire video that I was unable to get Bruckner. I think there's definitely a bug going on with Bruckner. I'm playing as Gelt, so I should have been able to recruit Bruckner. Karl has Bruckner, and Karl shouldn't have Bruckner if I'm able to get him. That's something that used to be the case with Ariel, that you got fixed. That Orion, for example, would not get Ariel if you were playing as the Sisters of Twilight and you were still able to get her. So you can actually see here that I built a livery which allows me to go on to the next phase of recruiting Bruckner, and then the secondary step for Bruckner never showed up. Okay, this is nothing to do with Bruckner, not Bruckner, not Bruckner. So this is definitely a bug that's going on. I'm assuming that if you play as Franz, this doesn't happen to you, but Franz is recruiting Bruckner. He did it here, but we can go ahead and take a look at him. So how do you get him? First of all, you're going to get to around level 10 or 12, and you'll get a quest to build a livery. Now, I think you actually have to build it yourself, or maybe it'll work if you just have one. I'm not sure. I know that when you're doing skill trees that require a building, you have to build it. You can't acquire it, but you might be able to pre-plan and have a livery ready to go for Bruckner, since Karl does buff cavalry anyway. And then as soon as you've done that, the next mission will be to get 1,000 kills with melee cavalry, and then you get Bruckner. Now, Bruckner is pretty imposing looking fella right here. He comes with 3 items. We're going to take a look at their overall combined effect. If you look at the bottom there, provides the following effects once equipped: control in all provinces and enemy leadership -5. So -5 enemy leadership. That's really good if you're fighting against goblins, if you're fighting against greenskins, if you're fighting against Skaven. It's not too bad if you're fighting Norska. And definitely if you're fighting demons of chaos, right? So they'll start to crumble if their leadership gets low enough. So what are the individual things? So the weapon is Liar's Bane. Control in the local province. I don't think local province control is really a thing. That's something you only need to use on an emergency basis. But you get the Liar's Bane, which is a buff to melee attack and melee defense. So what we're going to see is the Bruckner is something of a duelist sniper. He doesn't, I don't believe he has duelist as part of his... No, he doesn't. We're going to get to that in a minute. So this is going to buff his ability in melee, both his, oh, come on, dude, melee attack and melee defense, and then a bonus versus infantry. He has a talisman that makes the army immune to attrition. Now, this is really, really good. If you can get Bruckner early on, remember that there's a lot of attrition available coming from Nurgle. You've got Festus right there in the Empire. And if you can get Bruckner with this in his army, then what you're going to do is you're going to be able to walk around with Karl or whoever the army this guy is in, and not have to worry about that attrition. And then if you decide you're going to expand outside of the Empire, let's say into Norska, where there's that Chaos Waste and Mountain and Snow attrition, again, no attrition because of this item. So that in itself, no attrition, is really pretty good. Spell resistance, that looks to be only for him. And then the Balefire Amulet, 1 use, 100 damage against a single target. So again, we're going to see how sending Bruckner after a single target is good. He's going to get melee attack and defense. He's going to get a single target damaging spell here. And then down here, we've got the ability Stormlance, magical attacks, and a charge bonus. Magical attacks is good because it bypasses physical resistance. And then what do we have here? Flaming attacks. Base weapon. Flaming attacks, not necessarily the best, but base weapon damage, armor piercing weapon damage, and then charge bonus for 32 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown. So he's got a good equipment set. What else do we have? We're going to take a look at his skills. He's a training. He's like an Empire captain in that he's a trainer. He's got Reaper, which at around 11 is a Demigryph Knight, Demigryph Mount. Hold the line, we talked about that one. It's really good. It adds melee defense and leadership, not just to him, but for 35 meters. And then these are going to be your melee and your magic resistance. So he's got a traditional melee line, armor here, melee attack here. Then you're going to get melee defense, weapon damage, killing blow, deadly onslaught. So this is where we're going to spend some time here. We're going to look at his unique line. This looks to be frenzy and sundering attacks. So remember, sundering is going to take armor off the opposition. So again, this is all heading to where we're going, which is going to be that Lord sniping or single entity sniping ability. And then frenzy is passive. As long as his morale is over 50, weapon damage, armor piercing damage, charge bonus, and melee attack, and no terror and no fear. Fearsome combatant, going to add some more weapon strength, and then add a leadership -4. So remember, he's getting, when he has all these, he's got the, where's the one? Well, I can't remember where we saw it just now. It was the one that had the enemy leadership. God, I can never remember. We saw that he has enemy leadership -5, and then he's got another one of -4. And fearsome combatant right there. Affects all enemies in range. Hound of Judgment, so armor piercing weapon damage, and then a cooldown to his Titan Headsman ability. The Titan Headsman ability you can see here. Okay, 75 meter range for 29 seconds with a 1.5 minute cooldown, takes the melee defense and speed off the opponent. What a cat is going crazy. So you're going to find an enemy, you're going to, it's in a way, it's showing that he's going to go and execute somebody. Lower their melee defense, lower their speed, he's going to sunder their armor, he's going to increase his own melee defense and melee attack. And then this, which we can see here, is a 29 second, 90 second cooldown. Here we're going to get a 35% reduction. So it's going to be about a 30 second cutoff. So make it 60 second cooldown. Unknown origins, ward save, wound recovery time, and replenishment rate. So he can get into those fights and then recover from them better afterwards. The Alpha Gryph, weapon strength and terror for Demigryph Knights in his own army. So this shows the one unit that he buffs. He's not a cavalry leader per se, just the Demigryphs. And then here's the killer. Down here at Champion of Nuln, he gets the passive ability Hand of Judgment, and this adds the Executioner ability. So what that does is if you can hit somebody who's at 20% of their own hit points, doesn't matter how many hit points they have. If they are 20% or less of those hit points, he can execute them on a hit. So again, this is leading to show that he's a sniper. He's got all these abilities to slow down an enemy, buff himself. He's going to have this mount here that's only got a speed of 75, so it's not particularly fast, but it probably makes him large, and therefore he can push his way towards an enemy. So I think that he's definitely going to be a good gain. Oh, was it? Enemy leadership -5 for enemy armor. Okay, and then so enemy leadership -5, and then he's going to get enemy leadership -4, so -9. That's not bad. I mean, 9 leadership, that's going to be enough to start getting enemies routed. So that's not bad at all. So if you can get him early on, so if you're talking about getting him when you hit level 10 or 12, you're talking about 10 to 15 turns in to trigger the set of steps to gain him. So if you're playing as Carl, you're spending 4 or 5 turns getting rid of the secessionists down here. Then you're going to spend 4 or 5 turns coming up here. You're probably not going to get a hold of Bruckner by the time you get here, but you probably would have him soon enough thereafter. So there would be no attrition for your army here, no attrition if you had to fight vampires, no attrition if you have to fight in Norska, no attrition if you end up having to come up here and fight in this red terrain or in this Norskin territory up here. And Bruckner himself, with a lot of buffs to himself, debuffs to the enemy, showing he's going to be a single entity killer if you can end up getting him. So I'm definitely going to make a try for Bruckner. I maybe at this point that you have to play as the Empire to have a good chance of getting him. I have won campaigns as both Gelt. I've won campaigns actually as Gelt and Volkmar and what's her name? I can never remember her stupid name. Elspeth. And I've never gotten Bruckner. And now I'm thinking I never got the next step to get the cavalry, because by that time he was probably already grabbed by Karl. I wonder if Karl has to build it or if it's assigned to him. So I may look and see if there's a mod to get Bruckner. One of the best mods in the game was one that allowed you to start with Coadil. But if I have to play as Karl to get Bruckner, then I will. So give him a go.